We're an energy superpower, unabashedly energy superpower. We have the third largest reserves of oil. We have the fourth largest reserves of LNG. We will be up to 50 million tons annually of LNG by the end of this decade. We'll double that by 2040. So this is very large scale.
The federal government has signaled a major shift in Canada's climate and energy strategy. Ottawa announced it will pause and reassess the planned national emissions cap on the oil and gas sector, reframing the move as part of a broader transition from rigid targets to flexible pathways. While officials insist the goal of reaching net zero emissions by 2050 remains intact, the message marks a clear recalibration. Rather than imposing an industry-wide cap, Ottawa says it will work with provinces and producers to expand carbon capture initiatives and potentially enhance the federal industrial carbon pricing system. In government communications, the new approach is described as aligning climate ambition with global energy realities. In practice, that means moving away from policies seen as punitive to core industries and instead emphasizing technology-driven emissions reductions. The proposed path would see Ottawa collaborate with provinces, especially Alberta, Saskatchewan, and British Columbia, to expand carbon capture, utilization, and storage (CCUS) infrastructure. The government is also exploring an enhanced industrial carbon tax credit that would provide larger deductions or rebates for companies investing in emissions reduction technologies, mirroring elements of the U.S. Inflation Reduction Act. These changes are being framed as a pragmatic evolution of Canada's climate policy, one that reflects both global energy volatility and domestic economic pressures. For months, Alberta and major energy producers argued that an emissions cap was effectively a production cap. Industry leaders warned it would make Canadian oil and gas uncompetitive, particularly against U.S. and Middle Eastern producers not bound by similar restrictions. Markets appeared to agree. Canada's energy index rose more than 2% on the news, reflecting optimism that regulatory headwinds may finally be easing. At the same time, policymakers in Ottawa are signaling a broader economic shift. With Mark Carney poised to play a central role in shaping Canada's economic direction, there's a growing emphasis on rebuilding investor confidence and encouraging reinvestment at home. That message was reinforced in the 2025 federal budget, which included targeted measures to make Canada more business-friendly, such as accelerated capital cost allowances for manufacturing and resource investments, and expanded tax credits for clean tech deployment within Canada's borders. These steps are meant to encourage companies to reinvest profits domestically rather than shifting capital abroad. Another factor driving the shift is recognition that Canadian natural gas could play a significant role in global emissions reductions by displacing coal in Asia. Exporting lower-emission Canadian LNG, liquefied natural gas, to countries such as Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan could cut global carbon output even as it boosts domestic production. As Canada's trading relationship with the United States evolves, Ottawa is also looking to strengthen ties with Indo-Pacific nations eager to develop energy partnerships. This context set the stage for a surprising declaration made at the ASEAN Summit, where Canada presented its new approach as part of its strategic energy contribution to Indo-Pacific growth and decarbonization.
Up to 50 million tons annually of LNG by the end of this decade. We'll double that by 2040. So this is very large scale.
The statement drew widespread attention, not least because Canada currently exports less than 1 billion cubic feet per day of LNG. If Canada hopes to fulfill this new ambition, it will depend on a rapid build-out of LNG export capacity. Several projects that would terminate in northern British Columbia are already underway. LNG Canada, led by Shell and owned in partnership with companies from Malaysia, China, Japan, and South Korea, this flagship project is advancing towards Phase 2, which has been added to Canada's list of major projects to be fast-tracked for approval. Once fully completed, LNG Canada could produce approximately 4 BCF per day. Cedar LNG, a partnership between the Haisla Nation and Pembina Pipeline, this smaller-scale project is expected to add roughly 0.4 BCF per day. Woodfibre LNG, backed by Pacific Energy, this project could contribute 0.3 to 0.4 BCF per day once operational.
Combined, these projects will bring Canada's LNG export capacity to about 5 BCF per day within the next few years. Here are the projects that are early on that have good chances of becoming a reality. Bish LNG, formerly Kitimat LNG. Currently under administrative transfer to the Ksi Nation, the project retains its environmental certificate, enabling a possible restart with capacity up to 2.4 BCF per day. Ksi Lisims LNG, a proposed floating facility led by the Ksi Nation and Rockies LNG Consortium. With both provincial and federal approvals secured, it could add 1.6 BCF per day. Even with these developments, Canada would only reach about 8 BCF per day. Some more speculative ideas could push the total closer to 13 BCF per day. Tourmaline Oil, Canada's largest natural gas producer and a member of the Rockies LNG Consortium, recently hinted in its Q3 earnings report at the possibility of a future Hudson Bay LNG terminal, a long-term idea with major logistical challenges related to ice and depth. Nova Power LNG in Nova Scotia remains a distant concept, but reflects renewed interest in East Coast export potential, especially for European markets. Saguenay LNG is another idea that is being revisited. One of the most significant changes in Canada's LNG landscape is the shift in tone from British Columbia's government. Historically cautious toward large fossil fuel projects, the province now stands to benefit from natural gas royalties and higher provincial revenues. Unlike oil production, which is concentrated in Alberta, most of Canada's natural gas that will be exported via LNG will be produced in northeastern BC. That economic reality might be a factor in why the provincial government has been less resistant to LNG expansion as opposed to crude oil, which is primarily produced in Alberta. Premier David Eby recently signed a declaration with several First Nations reaffirming support for the Northern BC oil tanker moratorium, a policy that effectively blocks the revival of the Northern Gateway pipeline project unless it were to be overruled by the federal government. National discussions are shifting. Mark Carney recently raised the idea of revisiting the Keystone XL pipeline, which could deliver over 1 million barrels per day of Alberta bitumen, or heavy crude, to the U.S. Gulf Coast. Perhaps this is part of a negotiation with the United States, or perhaps a consolation prize to Alberta if the more difficult to pull off Northern Gateway project is not approved. All of these developments appear to be restoring confidence in Canada's oil and gas sector. Early evidence of this came from the 3.8 billion Canadian dollars proposed acquisition of NuVista Energy by Ovintiv, a company that originally operated in Canada as Encana before relocating its headquarters to the U.S. in 2019. Ovintiv's decision to reinvest in Canadian natural gas assets might be a signal that U.S. capital is flowing back north, at the same time as analysts and OPEC are forecasting that U.S. shale oil production is near its twilight. From emissions caps to export ambitions, Canada's energy strategy is rewriting itself. Time will tell whether or not Canada can become both a climate-conscious and economically competitive energy producer. The infrastructure required to reach 13 BCF per day of LNG exports is immense, but with projects advancing, foreign capital returning, and a new focus on global partnerships, Canada's energy sector may be entering its most consequential decade yet. From emissions caps to export booms, Canada's energy future is being rewritten. Whether it will meet those bold export targets or whether it even should remains a debate for the years ahead. Let us know your thoughts in the comments.
I hope you enjoyed this video. If you'd like to see more videos like this one, subscribe to this channel, Hum of the Earth Canada, for more relevant videos about Canada and its future. Also, this is a new channel, so subscribing helps a lot. You can also share your feedback and thoughts in the comments section. And if you're interested in cool places around the world, you can check out my other channel, Hum of the Earth. All right, that's gonna do it. Hope you enjoyed. Until next time, have a great one.